kind of pressed for time. Today we want to get to know each other a bit, and we'll ask people who are not here. Are we rolling? We'll ask people who are not here to introduce themselves on Slack. So the rest of us, they have to give us. We'll get to know them that way. You should know. What should you know about me? The best thing about me is Lynn. And my comments about marriage last week, I take all of those comments back. I was just trying to say that the best things in life are not easy, and so, but I'm already in yeah. Yeah, Lenny, why don't you take a minute to introduce yourself?
All right.
Face the camera when you're talking, if you would. Jaren's on a short leash, so.
Okay, so my name's Lynn, and I'll tell you real quick because it's kind of interesting how Kirk and I met. I was a junior in high school. I was playing sports, every sport there was. I worked in a little bookstore that my mother owned in Caseville, Utah, and Kirk had just come from Alaska, and he dropped out of high school his junior year to come to BYU and came home to see his family who lived in Caseville. And he came to the bookstore with his darling two little sisters to get a book by Hugh Nibley. And I thought, wow, look at this guy getting a book by Hugh Nibley, taking these two little cute girls. I thought that was pretty impressive. But so when he left, I looked at the book, An Approach to the Book of Mormon by Hugh Nibley, and I thought I would start to read it, but I couldn't get through the first paragraph. And I didn't, I was truly just mostly into sports. And so he came back later and asked my mother, who he didn't know was my mom, who's that I used to have dark hair. Who's that dark-haired girl that works here? Could I have her phone number? So he called me, we went out.
Oh yes, I'm her mother. You know how that went over. It's like, oh shoot, I just asked her mom.
Hey, if she gave you the phone number, that's like giving you the green light. So.
Yeah.
That's right. So
fortunately, she liked me. She's been.
on our first date, we're driving along, and the more Kirk talked, the slower he drove. And he asked me, so, who's your favorite character in the Book of Mormon? And I thought, Nephi? So I wasn't really a very good scriptorian, and I wasn't very scholarly, so I don't know why he was that interested in me. So we went on a mission. I went to Briggs College, which you guys might know as BYU, Idaho, and played sports, and I don't know, it took us 5 years to get together.
All-American volleyball.
That's right. Anyway, so that's the story. We were married for a year. We had a 3-month-old little boy, and he got a fellowship to study in Cairo, and I never wanted to leave the United States. I didn't want to leave Caseville, Utah. My mother begged me not to go, told me I didn't need to go, told him to go alone. And
she's not always been the best.
And I just had the gut feeling I needed to go. So it was not my desire to travel abroad, but since then we've been across the ocean many times, to Morocco and Jordan and Cairo, Jerusalem, yada yada yada. And we've loved it. Our children have loved it. They've had great experiences, and it's part of our life. So that's.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go.
And let me just say, I'm so excited to go with you guys. We are going to have a blast.
Yeah, we are really excited. So let's just start over here and make our way. Make sure the camera can see you. You can just look at the camera and yes.
Oh wow!
You don't want us to come up the front?
No,
just
look
right
at the
here.
camera and say hello.
How's it going?
And why don't you say, give us your name and one.
Tell us where you're from.
One thing, one thing that we might not guess.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm Jacob Wallentyne. This is my wife, Cher Wallentyne. I'm studying Arabic. She's actually over at UVU, graduating this semester as a nurse. So we'll have medical attention if necessary over in Jordan. Something about us, I guess. We met last year. I guess we got married last year. We
we
met
did
2
meet
years
last
ago.
year,
Got married, and ever since then, I've just been dragging her along.
Jake also drives slow when he talks.
I do.
Awesome.
So it's a guy thing.
I let
It is.
Lynn drive.
It's all good.
But we make it safely.
Yes.
There we go. I'm originally from Missouri. Springfield, Missouri. She's from
I'm from
Sandy,
Sandy.
Utah. A little less interesting, but everything else about it is amazing.
It's a good time.
Yeah. Anything else you want to know?
Good, Amber.
Wait for the camera, I guess. So I'm Ammon Burge. My wife Arlene is running late, but she'll be here soon, sitting here. So she's already graduated. She has a full-time job. She's the human resources manager at Northeastern Services. So she's busy all the time. So Mesa student myself, from the West Coast, Washington and California. My wife's from Arizona. So yeah, that's it.
I'm Heidi. I'm a linguistics major, and I'm from Wisconsin.
What part?
Southeastern part, just north of Milwaukee.
Nice.
I'm Riley. I'm a Mason major. I'm from Washington.
We have a lot of Mason majors. You don't have to tell us if you're a Mason major. If you're not a Mason major, confess. We love you. By the way, very interesting fact.
I'm in Washington.
Very interesting fact. Mason majors, men are almost 2-to-1 dominate. Every other major, it's about even. So there's something, we're going to talk to Professor Meekin, there's something sexist going on in the Mason major.
And Riley, tell us something we don't know about you guys. Tell us something.
Heidi, yes, Heidi and Riley, you need to tell us something that's other than your name, rank, and serial number.
I taught myself to play the concertina.
There you go.
There it is.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Riley?
I was a violin major for my last year, so.
All right.
We love it.
You guys gotta talk louder so we can hear.
Louder, yeah, louder. Do you want to have?
So
we'll have-
why?
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should have people
Okay,
just go
people,
up.
I guess you're going to have to come up here so people can see
Yeah,
you.
I think so.
Yeah, tell them. Tell them.
My name is Abraham Hendricks. I'm a Mason major and a Russian major. This is also my 5th major to declare, so there you go.
Investing deep on this one.
Okay. I'm Julian Turk, also a Mason major. My dad's in the Air Force, so I'm not really from anywhere. Moved probably like 12 or 13 times growing up. Yes.
And she promised to bring the cowboy boots.
I think I
Who's
did.
this? Kirk,
Who's that?
can you move to the right a bit?
I'm not even that.
No, you can sit there, just move the, oh, you're good. Yep, even better.
Okay,
Thank you.
I am Micah Wood. I'm from Ogden, Utah. I'm a linguistics major. I really like music, especially jazz, which is not really into this.
Okay, so the whole row. Next row comes up. Jocelyn, everybody in that row, everybody up. Okay.
Okay, I'm Jocelyn Hall from Arizona, Queen Creek, near Gilbert. I study linguistics, and I've known most of you for a long time, but I don't actually know any of you really. But I really love sports and music.
And she likes to read.
And reading, yes.
I'm Lauren Johnson. I'm an international relations major. I'm from New Mexico, and I play the violin and enjoy marksmanship.
Ooh.
I'm Elijah Bickmore. I'm from Orem so far. And I'm an Army cadet, and I've actually been to Jordan. I worked in Petra, an archaeological dig.
My name is Jeremy. I'm a poli-sci major, Arabic minor. I play guitar. I've been playing for about 10 years, and I lived in Jordan before. It's my home. I'm also an Army brat. So.
Shukran, shukran. Next line, next row. Tafaddalu, tafaddalu. Thank you.
I'm
Kristen. I'm from Twin Falls, Idaho. I'm a humanities major, interdisciplinary humanities, and yeah, I'm kind of like a book junkie and adrenaline junkie. So.
Do you have a track in IHUM? Like, are you within interdisciplinary humanities? Do you have a focus?
I'm still like deciding on it.
Sweet.
Cool.
My name is Micah Russell. I'm from Bainbridge Island, Washington. And I am a big soccer fan.
Who else likes to play soccer? Yes. We have some fun times with soccer.
Yep, I'm Dan Harker. I'm from Orem, Utah. And I'm happy to be here. Aside from Jordan.
Come in.
I'm a Mason major. I'm half Hispanic. My grandparents are from Mexico.
Excellent.
Yep.
All right, next row. Ashley likes music.
Yeah, we talked about that in Arabic class today. Okay, so my name's Ashley. My dad's in the Foreign Service, so I've lived all over the place. Fun fact, my parents are moving to Cairo this summer, so they'll be closer than if I was here.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm Collins, like Phil Collins or the girl from The Blind Side. And I'm from Denver, Colorado. And I actually graduated a couple years ago in Italian. So that's my fact.
Made a mistake there, he's coming back to regret.
And now I'm coming back to this.
Poor guy.
We love Italian, we love Russian, it's all good.
My name is Zach Qureshi. I'm a Navy grad, so my dad's moved us around from just Pleasant Grove to DC, then to Dallas. And I'm Zach, as in Zach's dad from last class. So yeah, my dad's Ahmed, my uncle's Jamal. Their dad is Pakistani. I just actually went down to Houston for a family reunion. Got to see all of my Patty family, and yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
My name is Courtney Kamaoha. I'm originally from Hawaii, but we've moved around a lot. I don't know. I really like workout videos, especially like dance workout videos. Yeah. I mean, I can show you.
Very nice, very nice. All right, next row, next row. Jenna.
She's in class today.
I'm Zach Norman, Mason major. I'm from Sacramento, California, born in San Francisco. I used to be a former emergency medical technician on an ambulance. Loved it here at BYU. Love photography, so I'll probably take lots of pictures and you'll probably see them.
Cool.
I'm Parker Jackson. I'm from San Jose, California. I'm majoring in economics and Arabic, double majoring.
My name is Kaylin Richardson. I'm from Mesa, Arizona, and I'm a Mesa major. And I really like spelunking.
Cool.
Nice.
It's something to do every day.
I'm Joseph Portland, Arabic and economics major, Mesa minor, and my middle name is not Bittner.
I'm Stephen Tibbetts. I'm from Denver, Colorado. Let's see. I've been locked in 2 separate public bathrooms and had a chipmunk jump up my shorts.
Wait, while you were locked inside?
No, this is a separate event thing.
Oh, I thought those were the same event.
Well, that was you.
You poor thing.
مرحبا اسمي ابو فيليب عشان اسم ابني وبابا عربي وماما امريكيه وتخصصي دراسات الشرق الاوسط واللغه العربيه وعندنا صغير انا في Paralympic bobsled team in America.
All right, well, one is here, he said. Okay, so now tell the people who can't speak Arabic, who are...
No, my name is Chloe Wolfgram. I'm from Tonga. I have a son and a wife.
Can't wait to meet him.
Mason major.
There's a documentary on him on YouTube. I think it's called 22 Minutes, is it?
Thank you very much. Jaron introduced himself last time, and he's on record, so folks, if you are not here, Jaron's going to give you instructions on how to introduce yourself via Slack. And if you're a Slacker and you're not on Slack, get on Slack, okay? And Jaron can help you get on. So somebody had a question about how much this program costs. We're getting close to knowing the final program fee. It was last year $6,500. It should be that or less this year. There's a lot of you, so you're driving the price down. The $4,700 for spouses. I think I've explained to everybody why it costs that much for spouses that are married. But if you have a question, you can come up and ask me afterwards. Airfare. Yes.
I bought tickets yesterday for $10.50.
Okay. So it depends on where you're coming from, when you buy, and $10.50. That's awesome. All right. I'm so glad to hear that. So, and we'll post on Slack. Thank you. We'll post on Slack the instructions for those of you who haven't got the instructions yet for how to go about getting your tickets. But you can go over to, you can just walk over to the Kennedy Center travel office, and they know. Food and transport varies enormously for folks. How much they spend on food, but you could get by on probably less than $800. But yes.
About the airfare, in order to get that $10.50 figure, do we need to buy our plane tickets soon?
I suggest you buy them soon. Last year they went up and then they came down a little bit, but they weren't. This was the time. This was the sweet spot to buy. So if you can buy them now, it's but who knows? Problem is going out of Tel Aviv. Once we buy up 40 planes, or so, when we buy up 40 seats on that plane out of Tel Aviv, each seat after that gets much more valuable, right? So, yeah.
So is the price of tuition included in the program?
Yes, that's in here. Yeah, that includes your housing, your all the cost of fees, tuition, etc. So if you have if you have a scholarship, it'll be deducted from that, whatever. And then
there's a question.
Going to Israel, Palestine, you're looking at roughly $22.50 for that part of it. Which I know it seems like, oh my gosh. If you can swing that, I don't think you'll regret it. But we understand if you can't, and we're so sorry for the parents who can't come because we can't have children on the board. Yeah, you had a question.
Yeah, is the Israel-Palestine portion, the $22.50, is that per person?
It's per
or is
person.
that just
Same price.
Okay, so accompanying spouse would have to pay that
Accompanying
as well.
spouse is the same price. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That do it? Yeah.
Where's the closest place I can sell my kidney?
Don't ask me. So, just on that note, I know there's a sticker shock thing here, but really, if you bought this on the open market, it will cost you, well, you couldn't buy it. Okay? For one thing, you can't buy it. But if you tried to buy, this part is not for sale. Nobody does this. This part, there's kind of a parallel program, somewhat parallel, probably not quite as good results. Anyway, over $20,000. Okay, so it is. I know it seems like a lot of money, but it's heavily subsidized. All right, and a great investment. Okay, so one other thing we want to get back to before we get on to our next topic is Dr. Curl said some scary things about women last time, about the woman who was nearly who was assaulted in Tahrir Square. Some of you won't understand the context of what was going on there, and that is that this was a square. There are no police in Egypt at this time. Every policeman has headed to the hills. I mean, literally, policemen literally stripped out of their uniforms, left them right there, and ran off in their underwear. They did. The police were so under the gun in terms of the rioting and so forth. So the woman who and the camera crew, she was not alone. She was with a camera crew in Tahrir Square, and every thug in Cairo was in Tahrir Square. And this was a time of incredible social unrest, chaos, etc., etc. And so we have not seen. So it was a perfect storm of negative things that happened. Have we ever seen anything like this in Jordan? Kind of. Okay, let me tell you about it. Okay, let me tell you about it. Students went to a soccer game in East Amman. Anybody ever been to a soccer game that got out of control? Okay, in Europe, people get killed and so forth. So nothing, approaching Cairo happened, but it got scary. It got really, really scary in terms of crowds of young men wanting to meet our young women. And fortunately, the police were there, and they had lots of men with them, and they were able to get away. We are forbidden from going to East Amman now, period. And that's not because of that event. It's because of just BYU is. It's called risk management, and when you deal with lawyers, you have to do certain things that minimize your risk to a over the top sort of thing. Does that mean you can go to East Amman? Absolutely not, right? Could you go to East Amman safely at various times and so forth if you were, absolutely yes. You could go to East Amman and so forth, but that is just one of those things that we say we are playing. That is the rules that we're playing by, and there you have it. Okay. So, is there sexual harassment? Yes. Dang it. There is sexual harassment. One of the students last year commented and said it was worse in Argentina on her mission. So it's not good. But I want to give Lenny a chance. I call her Lenny. Some of her friends, but you will probably call her Lynn or Linya. But if she invites you, call her Lenny. That's fine. That's her call. So anyway, I want Lenny to talk a little bit about her personal experience. Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Okay, so probably, I am sure, probably, but some of you were distressed by some of the things that you heard last week from Brother Curl, Dr. Curl. And I want to say that if you haven't been out of the country, then when you get to Amman, you will be overwhelmed at times by some harassment. It does happen. It happens. I would say that I get overwhelmed at times, and I get frustrated. I think there's if you've been in countries where there's catcalling, who has experienced that?
New York City, anybody?
DC. Okay, so there's stuff like that. There's who's been in countries where it's not America. People stare and they don't look away. So even when we have rules where you go in groups, there's groups. You have to be with men. You can't be alone. You're still going to go into the Shacky Burger joint or whatever, and there's going to be a group of guys sitting at the table, and they're just going to stare, and they're not going to look away, and it's going to be uncomfortable. And it just happens, and it gets on your nerves. It really gets bothersome. I think sometimes I would just get fed up. I would just be frustrated, and I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. You go to Jerusalem, and the same the same thing happens. You can't be like you are here, where you walk across campus and you just have eye contact with everybody and you just smile, you know? It's just we're so used to looking at people and smiling all the time, but to other cultures, sometimes that's a different message that you're sending. So I was just telling Kirk last night, we live along the Provo River down on the west side, and I was just so frustrated that I can't just go walk by myself down the Provo River because there's been incidents where women have been attacked or been molested here in Provo, so I can't just go walk by myself, and it's just wrong. But there's things like that happen in Amman and when we get to Jerusalem, and so that's why we have the dress code we have. That's why we have the rules where you aren't alone. That's why we're not out after dark without the groups that we're in. But I don't think you need to go terrified or start to think I don't want to go. I think Amman is really, what I want to say, relatively, it's a safe place to be if you are following the restrictions that we have in place, and that you're very careful. Yeah.
So from your perspective, for the men that do need to go with these groups, is there something we can do behaviorally to safely mitigate some of that harassment, if that makes sense?
Yes, awareness is huge. There's one example. I talked to a girl. I'll just tell you this really quick. That Shacky Burger I was telling you about, I think you guys will end up going there because it's a great place. All of a sudden, if you want an American hamburger, you go there. And one of the girls ended up going upstairs. Everybody will have a phone, and she was texting, and her friends were going to come, and it was in the middle of the day, and she ended up going up there, and the workers put up the yellow things that they were going to clean the floors. And so, long story short, the guys, she ended up being alone up there, and they had her kind of walled off, and nothing happened, but nobody knew she was up there, and she was terrified. And if somebody had been aware, if the boys had been aware that she was up there, or if her friends had come looking for her, it's just awareness is huge. And Jared, did you have an example of?
I had a thought that I think might help you all understand a little bit about the rules as we talk about them on the program. That there were two very different experiences that groups would have of going out with a couple of guys and a number of girls with them. If there was a group where there were people in the group that were exhibiting PDA or interacting with each other in a way that would be culturally inappropriate in Jordan, they had a lot of these experiences where they're uncomfortable. Why do people think that both genders of the group, they're why do people think that I'm some trashy person? Whereas on the other hand, when there were groups that were very they weren't showing any PDA and they were being appropriate in their relationships, people were oh, this is a very respectful group, not because they're respecting our culture, but because there's something about oh, a young woman's going out at night, she should have someone from the family with her to just make sure everything's okay. And I went with my sister, and I don't know if any of you know the term mushrif, which is the person who watches over the honor or supervises, which is kind of a silly term to us in America. But when people, as a joke, I told someone, yeah, I'm here with my sister, a mushrif, they're oh my goodness, that is so responsible and kind. And I just, will you come with us on our family vacation this weekend? And I was oh, yeah. So, it's important that everyone here is aware. I guess I don't want to speak for the program in this. I don't think that sexual assault or harassment is the woman's fault because the way she's acting or what she's wearing. And I hope that none of you are getting that feeling that it's your fault if something bad happens to you. But there are things that we can't control in other people, that there are factors that we're able to influence and keep ourselves out of unsafe situations, not because it's our fault that those situations are unsafe, but because we understand that there are like factors in play that we aren't able to control. But I think like if you are acting in an appropriate manner and you'll like just like look at what your Arab female friends do and think, oh, like that's like the way that I sit, the way that I like touching people in public, that sort of thing, like that will clue you in on social cues that make people realize that like, oh, you're like a not respectful, but like respected person. And they're like, you know who you are and what you're doing there. And I think that that's really meaningful. Maybe something to like make sure that everyone knows that it's not also just like this like awful experience for women. Like women have incredible experiences that I was not allowed to have as a man. And I was super sad because I like, for example, I love cooking and I love being part of like this idea of like this like the private sphere of life, and I was not allowed to. Like I was not allowed to cook in anyone's house for an entire semester. And I could not like I did not feel comfortable talking to women on the street a lot because I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable. Also, guys, make sure that you're not making women feel comfortable being aggressive. That's something to be aware of. So women sometimes would be like, oh, I need to have a guy with me. And then other times you'd be like, sweet, I get to go and hang out with women in the house and be part of the family and be able to have this experience that like no male researcher could ever have. So just like be aware that there's like things that both sides need to be aware of, like the kinds of behaviors that you're doing need to be modified from American culture, and there are like these great benefits that you can get out of if you're willing to just like commit and find the good that there is there.
Yes, two things that you said real quick made me think of something.
You're fine.
So that's women really are afforded a great opportunity where you are able to get into the homes with women, and that's something the guys don't get to do so easily. But Jaron, when he was talking, when we talked about you do obey all the rules, and still you're probably going to get that where they come up and hiss in your ear or things like that, and it's just annoying and it really bothers you, and you can just ignore it. You know, don't. What, did you have a comment? It
just seems like weird that they would hiss in your ear. I don't understand the point of that, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's just annoying. It's annoying. Okay, when I was talking about awareness on the guy's part, this is really, really important. Don't let the girls end up walking behind you. When you're walking in the evening and you start walking, don't let the girls be behind you. And when you're in shops, this is a big deal. Sometimes the shop owners will want to help the girls try on keffiyehs, or you'll think this sweater looks cute or something and you'll want to try it on the sweater. We've had trouble with guys, the shop owner wanting to help a girl try something on, and next thing you know, the group starts to wander off and the girl's left alone with the shop owner, and he's helping the girl try something on. And just be aware, you know, that everybody's with you, and you're hanging back if a girl's looking at something, if one of your group is looking at something. That's really important, just the awareness, right? That happened.
Yeah. Why don't you just share a little bit about your feelings of, you know, I mean, why do you feel about going to? What do you like about? I mean, this is annoying. This side of Jordan is annoying. What, you know, tell us something about what you like.
I love the culture. I love the people. We have so many friends. You meet a person one time and they want to be your friends for life. You guys will really make friends that will welcome you into their hearts, and it happens so fast. And they'll want you in their home. They'll want to feed you. They'll want to be your friends for life. And it's really unlike anything you've ever known. So it's an experience to treasure and that you will love. And so when we talk about this, it's not like this, all the time everywhere you go. It's just when you get in crowds or downtown or things like that. But as a whole, the people are loving and kind and very respectful. And they especially will be so in awe of you learning their language that they will want to welcome you into every part of their life. And so I think you should be a lot more excited and a lot more anticipatory of the experience you're going to have than afraid. We're just bringing up this as a cautionary, yeah.
Just a quick question going along with that. So what's the proper group reaction if someone in our group is being harassed? Like what should the group do to stop that?
So you're talking about somebody is like
If it's
whistling
happening,
or, I mean like.
Just if something is happening, like what should we do as a group?
Move on.
Move on, but like what if it's like a bit more aggressive? Or,
Yeah, it's a bit more aggressive, then you get, I mean, you can be physical, right? In terms of you get yourself between the woman and the person and, it's people don't want, they do not want to have a fight, right? I mean, I'm really glad that he mentioned I'm really glad she mentioned the thing about the shopkeepers, because one of my favorite things to do when I notice a shopkeeper who's really wants to help a woman try things on is I like to go over and stand real close and just kind of look like, yeah, you try it, buddy. and you women, you are more than fine to just say, Yani, Khalini, okay, I'll do it. I'll take care of it, right? You can speak right up and say, I don't need your help, right? And this is, I mean, if you see him trying, do you do this with Arab women? I don't think so, right? And one of the things you can say to people is say, do you not have a sister? Right? It's like, you just turn it back on him and say, hey, come on, you know? Anyway.
Yeah, I would like this part about like if it's more than just people saying something and you're not able to move on, definitely like the guys should assert themselves and move in between them. And I think that the dressing example, like you would not see an Arab woman go into a clothes shop and let the shopkeeper like help her try stuff on. Like as like him being a male helping her try stuff on at all, I don't think, but especially if there wasn't a guy present. So like the guys, you should know like, oh, that would be a regular behavior for me to leave a woman in the store. And the woman should be like, oh, that's a weird thing to let a guy I don't know touch me in any way.
Big red flag.
Like that's something that's strange. And this is something that I talked to my speaking partners about a few times, both men and women, of like, hey, like my sister's here. What do I do if there's any issues going on? I like care about the other people on this program. And a lot of them had different things, but then I like give them a specific situation. Like some of them would be like, oh, you just like walk away, or you like yell, like, hey, like shame on you or whatever. And then, but then I would like give them a specific situation. I'm like, what if they won't stop talking to the girl who's sitting in the front seat of the taxi? And they're like, whoa. The girl's sitting alone in a taxi in the front seat? That's absurd. That's on you. So like, those are the kind of things like make friends and see what they do. So those are like a couple of examples. Like a woman wouldn't be sitting up front with a man alone. She wouldn't be in a store alone with a man that she doesn't know. If there's like a guy touching you for some reason, you'd be like, this is a red flag because he would not do that to an Arab woman, or her brothers would have beaten him up. So we know something's up.
And most shopkeepers won't do this.
Yeah.
You'll find this, like for example, this happened in, one of the negative things happened in Petra, where you have this tourist trap where, you've got guys who are pushing it. They're pushing the envelope. They're trying to see, are you here? Are you a sexual tourist? Right? Unfortunately, we have women who go to Jordan for that kind of fun, and you just have to signal very clearly, you got the wrong girl, buddy. This is not it. Now let me say just a word about. I don't know any woman who has been on the program who wishes they had not gone. On the contrary, across the board, they're like, I wish I could go back. I had such a great experience. I miss it so much, right? So, yeah.
Is there any, I don't know if anyone else is bringing like children, but is there any difference? Does anything change?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Spouses, children, etc.
You went.
Okay, yeah, we had a couple last semester that brought their year-old.
Yeah.
Do you guys know them?
Johnson's.
Johnson's. Yeah, they brought Ollie, and he was like the ticket. If you have a baby, it's like everybody loves you. You know, it's just they'll have you over, and everybody loves the baby. So, and they'll love you. So it's.
But it still doesn't make you immune from sexual harassment. Lynn was in the Sports City Park with a woman with a baby. So you have, you know, what might appear to be grandma, mom, baby, and these boys were harassing them, right? They're like, how old were they?
12 to 15. But it was terrible and it was frightening. It got to be frightening. So, but we called Tasha's husband.
Yeah, he called her husband, and so it's just like, ah! There are dumb. Now, would something likely have happened in the park, in this huge park where there are, you know, other people? If you start screaming, you could draw people and things like that. Lynn's had some other experiences there where it's just been really, really frustrating, you know. But it's on the good side. That Sports City, people met all kinds of cool families there, and so, you know, yeah.
So if a man grabs me, am I allowed to like physically
Absolutely.
physical about it?
Elbow him.
Okay.
The problem is you're always so shocked. I mean, we have yet to have anybody connect, right? Be my guest. You will get the first, you know, whatever, you know, you get the gold medal for. Did you want to say something to that?
No, you'll get support from people on the street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they don't want
My husband's buying me a
to
taser.
have that reputation.
Is that
Cool.
a thing?
I have no idea. Ask tomorrow night. You know, you guys know about this tomorrow night. They're going to have a Jordan Culture Night. So.
With a Q&A from people who are from Jordan, people who've lived in Jordan.
Jordanians talking. So tomorrow night, if you want to go and ask that question, my guess is you're not going to go to jail.
Cool.
Yeah. But I will tell you, Dr. Green, who's retired now, but Dr. Green, they lived in Egypt for many years, and his wife, there is a very much a face-saving side of male-female relations, and if some wingnut, you know, whatever, you know, pinches you or something like that, then, you know, you're not going to be. It's not going to be a problem if you elbow or whatever, you know, that sort of thing. It's almost certain that he'll be long gone by the time you realize I should have smacked him, right? But his Dr. Green's wife in Cairo. I don't remember exactly what happened. I can't remember if it was the car was coming up behind her and she was, and it was honking or something like that, and she just got miffed. Do you remember exactly what she did? She like kick out her headlight or something like that? Do you remember what happened? Yeah. So I don't remember exactly what she did, but the guy got out, grabbed her by the hair, and dragged her down the street to the police station. Okay, so this was a guy who was, you know, almost certainly upper middle class, and for him it was like, you don't do that to me. I am an Arab man, right? There's this machismo thing that is not limited to, anyway, you know. So anyway, you don't want to be provocative in terms of challenging cultural norms in terms of men and women interacting. You don't have to like it, but this is, we'll talk about that now actually. This is not the time to go and single-handedly try and change Jordan, right? This is the time for you to go and observe and say, talk to women, see how they deal with it. In fact, one of the best stories I have some great stuff to share with you, and we will be sharing case studies and so forth with you over the course of all up until we leave for Jordan. One of our great stories is a young woman who was feeling, she was kind of, the harassment was kind of really getting to her. And she found that when she was with her Arab friends, female Arab friends, they knew exactly how to handle this unwanted attention. And it just was the most liberating thing in the world for her to realize that I want to hang out with these girls because they know how to deal with the streets, right? So anyway, all right. Let's move on. Is there any other questions on just sort of random questions?
Yes.
Yes.
So what if guys are hanging out with a group of Arab guys and we notice that they start to catcall girls? How should we react to that?
I mean, I would be totally saying that is not cool, dude.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, this line of "Don't you have a sister?"
Yeah.
Where you bring it back to honor, and people will. I mean, when they get called on the carpet, there's it's sort of like this business of what people do. What happens in Vegas? People have these certain sorts of things about where they, like for example, we had our program was stationed in Alexandria, Egypt, and in 2004. Very unfortunate circumstances. It was summertime, and everybody goes, I wasn't there. It wasn't my choice. Okay. It was summertime, and oh man, all of my secrets have been spoiled. So anyway, so they're in Alex. Everybody and their dog goes to these seaside towns for a holiday. And there are just packs of boys roaming the street looking for trouble, right? They are mom and dad are nowhere to be. There are no uncles or aunts or neighbors to it's just like, whatever. And oh man, we had some really, really tough experiences for the women getting harassed in Alex that year. That was the end of that. There were some other really cool cultural parts about that, but that's it. But if you get somebody and you remind them about what you stand for and what they stand for in their in the person that they want to become, we all have our better side and so forth. So anyway, if that is helpful, inshallah, it is. Oh, good. Okay. So I want to. Excuse me. Okay. So I didn't get to do this last time, and I really, really, really feel really strongly about a young returned missionary, a companion speaker of our high counselor on Sunday had this quote about. He said, I had it laid out to bring with me, and I'll have to share with you later. But it was basically something like, if you know why you're here, you act different, right? If you can keep in mind, why am I doing what I'm doing? It makes a big difference in who you are. And I have not a doubt in my mind about why we are in Jordan, and why the university continues to go out on, to overextend itself to make sure to facilitate this. The Abrahamic covenant. Who's been studying Abrahamic covenant? Anybody? Hammond? What have you been thinking about Abrahamic covenant?
What do you want to know? Studying a lot about.
What's the Abrahamic covenant about?
So essentially, it's about priesthood, posterity, and land.
Property, 3 P's.
Property.
Yeah. Okay. But the
The main purpose is so that the whole earth can be blessed with what Heavenly Father has to give.
Abraham.
I think it's Bruce R. McConkie calls it like a system of salvation.
Abraham, the Abrahamic covenant is about blessing all nations, right? That is the whole purpose for the covenant is make you a blessing. What happens in the process of blessing all nations, of being, Abraham becoming an instrument in God's hands and blessing all nations? You serve, you're changed, right? You become a disciple of Christ. How do you say? Jesus says, you having a hard time? You feeling burdened? Come take my yoke, right? What? I'm burdened. Why would I take a yoke? Because you'll find rest to your soul. In this counterintuitive plan, we're struggling with our own issues, and God invites us to follow Jesus. We have this invitation to do what He would do, to walk in His ways, to minister, to leave our sick family in Illinois or wherever and go to England and preach the gospel. And it's just crazy. And we become the person that we could only dream of becoming. We become changed in the process. And so the bless all nations thing. There are a lot of different scriptures that will apply to you when you're in. You'll be fulfilling all kinds of prophecies about last times. We'll get into more of those. But I love this vision because Amman is built on these mountains, right? In fact, neighborhoods of Amman are referred to as Jabal Amman. Jabal, for the non-Arabic speakers, it means mountain. Okay, so you have Jabal Amman, Jabal Webde. The neighborhoods are called Mount Amman, Mount Webde, and so forth, right? And when Isaiah and then Amulek, not Amulek. Gosh. Abinadi, thank you very much. Hey, Abinadi, thank you very much. So when Abinadi quotes this, and he said he talks about how beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of those who hereafter publish peace, yea, from this time henceforth and forever. He was talking about you, okay? He was. I know he was talking about you. I was writing, and how do you publish peace? How do you see yourself publishing peace?
Setting a really good example so people know that there's something better in this life.
That you stand there and you say, all Americans aren't about making a buck, right? That we care about we care about hearing your stories. We respect that you have difficult stories, lives that you've lived. We respect that you were kicked out of Iraq, or you're a refugee from Iraq or from Syria, and that we're complicit in that. Our country lit the fire that burned down your house, and we're sorry about that, right? I mean, it's not like you don't have to get into saying kick me, I'm an American, but you can get into there and say, you know what, I am so sorry that this happened to you, that you're in this situation. Tell me more about your life. Tell me about how your life was before. Tell me about what are you hoping to do? You know, just care. You just care. And just by going and showing up and studying Arabic, you will already communicate. Holy cow. Now this is, for Arabs, Arabs think that Arabic is the hardest language in the world. And so when they see, they're like, what the heck are you doing? You're all learning English. Why are you learning Arabic? It's a huge, huge compliment. You could hardly pay a higher compliment to an Arab than to study their language and value their culture, because they feel like, you know, we've given the world so much. We could go into all the contributions of the East to the West that never get acknowledged, rarely acknowledged. And for somebody to come back and say, wow, you know, this is an awesome culture, and we are so blessed that we had this opportunity to know each other. Did you have anything?
Whenever we talk about this reminds me of the story that was El Tom
Speak
Perry.
up, speak up.
The story that El Tom Perry told about when he was serving the military in Japan, and the U.S. had bombed out a bunch of stuff and all that kind of stuff, and he and some other Marines or cadets or whatever they were built up some of the Christian churches in the area. So he wasn't, although it might have been their fault, or they were fighting against the Japanese, so there was obviously some animosity, or maybe the people thought there was animosity there, but he and whoever he was with decided to serve, regardless of that, kind of take a little more neutral stance in terms of looking at all Japanese people. They didn't see them all, they're all just this one whole. And then it talks about later how they all showered them with gifts as they were driving, or as the train was pulling them away in Japan. So I think I'm not kind of thinking about that. I'm thinking about what our role is.
You best proclaim peace by walking in and when the Spirit of the Lord radiates from your countenance and you are filled with love and care about people, it's tremendous. I mean, I'll tell you about one experience that I had with a taxi driver this last year. I got in the cab with this taxi driver, and over the course of about 15 minutes or so, I had this sense. I mean, I got this sense of. We got into an interesting conversation, and I don't remember how it got started, but he started sharing some very deep spiritual feelings about. This was frustrated. He's Palestinian, frustrated. He said, "But it's okay, because Jesus is going to make it right." I said, "You bet he will." And he just kept sharing stuff. He said, "I'm sorry." I said, "Oh no, I'm enjoying this. You keep talking. I'm so interested to hear the rest of the story." So he's talking about these end time things that are going to happen. And when I got out of the cab, I felt like this is my brother. This is somebody who I have known. I'm pretty sure this is somebody I have known for eons, right? That we just happen to have, just a chance thing, right? That our premortal friendship had set us up to make this, this connection. And it was an interesting meeting. There were a lot of interesting circumstances that led to that experience. And I walked away from that feeling like he feels better about life, I feel better about life, and we are so glad that we had that 15 minutes together. And I kicked myself that I didn't get his phone number. I can't believe I didn't get his phone number. But anyway. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say it's a bummer that we have to sign this proselyting agreement, right? But I promise you that when you're an Ahmed and people see, like Michael said over here, people will see that you're different. And if you're a good influence, then people will understand that. Oh, that kid, he was Mormon. He was with the BYU program. That's going to stick with them for a long time. And,
even if they never find out you're LDS, the fact that you are a believer, that you have standards, that you respect their standards, that you respect their beliefs and so forth, will be ripples going out across, and you'll never see the end. You'll never see the end of the good that you're doing. I've watched, I mean, we could go on and on about this, and I don't want to do too much about this. Like you could do too much about it, but we have other things we're going to talk about. But this young woman I was telling you about had the tough time, who had the tough time with harassment, and found this liberation with finding Arab women to walk around. That same woman was having a tough time, an internal struggle, which we'll talk more about next week. But the thing that changed everything for her was a roommate that said to her, "Don't you feel that she was really struggling in her eyes. She was actually doing very, very well, but she was really struggling with some perfectionistic tendencies, and she said, and her roommate said, she said, "Don't you feel that God sent you here?" And it was like a light went on for her. She was like, "Yeah, I know He sent me here. I mean, I know I'm here because of guidance. I mean, I didn't. This wasn't my idea." And she said, and the roommate said to her, "Well, if you're doing all you can, don't you think that's good enough?" And it was like a ton of bricks fell off of her, where she was able to just say, yeah, that's good. I am going to, anyway, so if you remember, if you have a sense of why you're there, I want you to understand. I hear this from one student after another in interviews about ways that you have been led to this, to what you're doing. Keep it front and center. Keep it front and center that you're there. I mean, you are there publishing peace, and every time I have, and we have pretty regular interaction with general authorities passing through. It's surprising how common it is for us to bump into general authorities. For example, Elder Perkins, Elder Holland is over the Middle East, and Elder Perkins is his assistant in the 70, one of his two assistants in the 70 that helps oversee them. And so we had just finished. He had just done a fireside there. We had a fireside with Sister head of LDS Charities. Help me. Sharon, yes, Sharon. Sister. So Sharon Eubank had just given a fireside the day before for our students, and then the next day, Elder Perkins was there for doing some training with missionaries there, and he said to us after, he said, it's really important what you're doing here. Thank you. And that happens over and over and over again. President Faust, I told you about Arnie Green, whose dear wife got dragged down the street, bless her heart. They have more stories. This was sort of the Wild West days. Things have settled down a lot. But anyway, Arnie was the director of the Jerusalem Center back in about 2000, and President Faust, who was the Jerusalem Center was his baby. President Faust told Arnie, he said, this was 2001. Yeah, it's 2001. It's right after 9/11. He says, we have got to get more Latter-day Saints living in the region. And that was a private conversation. But it was like, you might as well have sent it out over the young adult info line or something like that. Because, I mean, just the people who have come out of the woodwork is crazy. So a couple of years ago, I was in Amman, and we just happened to be Lenny and I were at the dedication of the Jerusalem Center. Nobody, there are very few mortals on the planet who were in that building for the dedication. You would think you'd want everybody there, but it was kind of done on the quiet. And we just happened to be there for the dedication of Jerusalem. So I had another one of these kind of fortuitous, right in place things. Elder AC, remember Elder AC? Just passed away last year. Elder AC, who told his story in conference? Elder Anderson? I can't remember who it was, but I'll get you the conference talk because it's a really interesting thing because Elder AC was on the Middle East desk. Okay, so he was like where Elder Perkins is now. He was in charge of things going on in the Middle East. And he came for his last talk in Oman. And he was being relieved of responsibility. He was handing the reins over to others. And Elder AC, who was just a really, really amazing guy, he got up in a district conference and he said, I prophesy. I get to hear that very many times when you're in interstate conferences, at least that I typically attend. He says, I prophesy, you will see tens of thousands of people joining the church in Jordan. And after the millennium, millions. I had an opportunity. I had an opportunity to teach a priesthood session the next day, or the next week, the priesthood lesson the next week, and I said, how are you going to get tens of thousands of people? And I said to him, when President Faust was a missionary in Brazil, there were 6 members of the church. Now, they filled soccer stadiums with members of the church. How did it go from 6 to 12? Somebody invited their friends. So I'm talking to Arab members, right? I'm not talking to my students. I'm teaching Arabs, and so forth. So one of our students, who's the district president of Jordan now, and he's probably not. Well, he's got a daughter coming. In fact, she'll probably be on the program next year. Spencer Penrod was here at BYU, back from his mission, and on his knees asking, what do you want me to do, Lord? And he got the message, you really want to know what I want you to do? I want you to study Arabic. Okay. So he signs up for Arabic. Spencer has spent the last 14 years living in Cairo and Amman, and he heard President Faust. He got the message, right? He got the message, so a couple of years ago, not even 2 years ago, Spencer is the new district president in Amman. And Spencer's Arabic is amazing. You will be stunned at his Arabic. He is a lifelong learner who keeps getting better and better. He's a guy who keeps after. I rode with him in a cab in Cairo, and I'm just like, kicked back, and Spencer's like, he's like, how do you say, he's got this note, and he's asking about all kinds of, what's that, how do you, he's writing down the word. I'm like, why do I want to know how to say clutch, right? I don't even care about how to say clutch. And he's like getting it all down. I'm like, okay, take a page here, take a lesson here from your student Spencer. Anyway, wrapping this up, this part of the discussion. So Spencer arranges for this amazing. This guy, he's district president, right? So district president, you kind of think, okay, you're telling the little people what to do, whatever, the other people what to do sort of thing, you know, advising at that level. Spencer would meet, as the district president, he would meet with the Arab guy who's going to be giving the Sunday school lesson the next week. And he would help them figure out, how can I make this interactive? What questions can I ask? Because the natural thing for the Arab to do is to stand up and do what he's used to doing, right? You give a sermon, right? So get up there and talk. And Spencer's helping helping these people to learn how to do, you know, teach like Jesus teaches. So what does Spencer do? Figures out how to get almost every active member, I mean every eligible member, on an airplane to Hong Kong to get their endowments. Right? Why did they go to Hong Kong? No visa problems, cheap. You couldn't take them to Europe, right? Cheap, relatively cheap airfare. Turned out to be the cheapest, easiest temple to get to. So took like 18 people. I think only 1 or 2 of them had ever been to the temple before. And this is what you're, have you seen this temple fund where you can help to make it possible? Anyway, so, sorry. All right. I'm a boob. I'm just a boob. Okay, so anyway, Spencer took all these people to Hong Kong, and they were in the temple day and night. Day and night. Didn't have any money to go out and do anything else, you know. I mean, but they were there. They knew why they were there, and they were in the temple day and night, and it's changed. Spencer Penrod, these branches in Jordan have struggled. Okay, we have watched people come and go, and new converts fall away, new converts come, fall. I mean, it's been this like barely keeping your head above water sort of thing. It's different. Spencer Penrod has been a quantum leap in what's happening in Jordan. So, your calling is not necessarily go spend the next 14 years in the Middle East. But it might be. Yeah, all right. So, well, let's talk about some other stuff. I want to jump back to my friends at the University of Maryland, like we've talked about these folks that did this research project with us. This is the $60 million research center that designed the aptitude test that our students took for 3 hours and some. And this is a slide that they have. Do we need a bathroom break or okay? All right, bathroom break. Okay, quick bathroom break and we'll come back. Sorry. Thank you. Somebody already signaled that, I suppose.
What do you have in your bed? What kind of hashish are you smuggling over here?
That's za'atar. It's
Don't let me.
sesame seed
I'll pull it up on
thyme
Facebook here.
mix that you're gonna probably eat lots of. It's a really important like breakfast and everything food in Jordan.
Just
I
like
just
kept
got it.
smelling like these whiffs of like minty type stuff.
Oh, that's me.
What is that?
That's my breath.
Oh.
That's peppermint oil, and then I'm wearing summer butter essential oils. This.
I was like smelling. I was like, where's it coming from? And I looked down and like something in your bag, and I was like,
This is my new shipment. You can actually buy it.
Finishing up this.
Almost there.
So what kind of
There's a vending machine for some food.
Really? She was well. I love it there. We'll see. I love
Oh, really?
I did labor delivery for a while, and then I did TGR. Well, I did my EXAM. No, we moved around so much, so I kind of started to feel quite. I really like working with doctors, which is hard to do the job as an RN. But
I know, they're all just like, manager.
that's where I work.
Well, no, they're
That's what it is right now.
They have midwives, but then they're,
2 hours.
I
So do like 1 hour and 1 hour later.
for a doctor. Or a doctor, you do a lot of assisting with procedures.
I did.
I love doctor's offices. I worked in surgery offices too. I just don't like hospitals.
Yeah, so.
about now.
Yeah, so I took speech to
Yeah, it's hard.
So do you
I was told that they were
No, I don't know.
I don't, other teachers listed for 2
I'm gonna have to just.
Not really. Not the best witness.
But it's really, like, I wouldn't have any.
So I walked into this.
I'm not sure how much.
She's not cold. And she goes, sure.
It's all online and I'll be doing
Mid-Sayed. We're to Mid-Sayed.
Sorry, acting while I was there.
Tell me about that.
Oh, I. Everyone else will have to do like maintenance stuff, like stay up on it, but you'll.
Is your seatmate here? Anybody missing that was sitting by you? I think we're pretty much here.
The bridges are out.
What's that?
And are waiting.
What? Yeah. It's fine. It's very.
Any questions while we're waiting for the last couple of people? Random questions. Yeah.
After we come back from Jordan, what classes will we take to do the minor or the major?
The Arabic major?
What's the difference between the minor and the major?
The minor only has like one more class.
Yeah, one, if any. Like it didn't used to have one, now it has like one.
The minor might last for one more class.
Yeah.
The core of it is 411, 495. And,
Do you know for the minor?
Minor doesn't have to.
Yeah. So Jacob is saying that there's no 400 level classes for the minor, just IQ 242.
Oh yeah.
For the major, you have to do 411, 495 twice each, and those are taught fall and then taught spring, and those are kind of different things. And then you'll have to take 2 more classes either from the other 400 level classes, so that can be like literature or spoken dialect.
So that's 4 more classes then?
So 6 more classes total. So 411 and 495 are each a class, and then take those twice.
So let's roll. Just want to bring to your attention that we've got this Anki training session on Thursday in B160 here at 11 a.m. And Anki is awesome, okay? Mr. Anki is Kuloa. And so if you have not become, really up on how to use Anki, this is going to be well worth your time. And let me say about this, because we're moving into talking about language learning, that there is little that you could do. Collins, you've been using Anki, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wrote me a great testimonial the other day. So,
Yeah, it's awesome.
yeah. There's little you could do that would be better for you linguistically, emotionally, than to become really good at vocabulary, right? Vocabulary has a way of making you feel like, oh, there is light, right? And when you're really, really swimming in that, I don't know any of these words. That can be kind of distressing. All right, back to our. Whoop.
It's up. You're good.
Sorry? It's up. It's up now? Okay. Okay, back to our thing. So, talent, right? Strike that from the why did they put talent up there? I mean, like personality and experience, I don't know why they put talent up there, but if you're talking about raw language learning talent, right? Cognitive ability. In terms of, are you good at recognizing patterns? Do you have longer working memory than average? Those kinds of things. There are a number of traits that can facilitate language learning. Memory performance and so forth. All this means, in terms of aptitude, is that you move a little faster. Everybody can learn, and if it takes you a little bit longer, it actually isn't the worst thing in the world to have happen to you. Anyway, we can talk. We won't have that. So anyway, so in terms of looking at what happens on study abroad, Jared and I were just talking about this the other day. We have some really interesting things that happen. You've got, we've seen incredible aptitude that went nowhere, right? I mean, if you don't do something with that aptitude, it's meaningless, right? And we've seen, Jared and I were just talking about a student who had some significant challenges in terms of linguistic ability. Person came to learning Arabic. Most people come to learning Arabic because they're like, hey, languages are cool. I did pretty good with X, I'm going to go on to Y, right? And this person didn't have that experience of, oh, I'm a good language learner. I'll bet I can handle Arabic, This person came to it for other motivation, but that person's personality. Lenny and I sat at dinner last year with this kid, and with a member family, and watched in awe how this kid could communicate in spite of his relatively limited Arabic ability, right? It was a wonder to behold. And that kid, in the end, that kid scored his OPI. I mean, it was just Mr. Personality, okay? And he just loves people. And I know that his OPI is in significant part because he connected with the interviewer, right? The interviewer couldn't help but want to talk to this person. And I mean, they had to go back and look at it careful and everything like that. But still, we've seen OPIs from linguistic whiz kids. I mean, people who have astounding memory capacity, and things like that, who couldn't connect personally with the person in terms of doing the OPI. So the OPI is something to mistrust totally about measuring, what it's only one of many measures, and we use it as sort of an averaging sort of thing to talk about it because people care. It's something we use as a yardstick to say, oh, this is by one measure that people seem to care about that. Anyway, so there's a lot of different types of talent. Okay, there's a lot of different types of talent, and there are talents. There are talents that you have, I'll wager, that you don't know you have. Okay, and I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna tell you a little story here. Tell you a little story here about a guy by the name of Sterling Jensen. So, how many of you have ever heard this story? Yeah, okay. Okay, so Sterling. This is back about 2002 or so. Sterling's in our Arabic class, and the thing that you can remember about Sterling is just funny. He was just a funny kid. And it was anyway. I won't give you all the details, but let's just say that he almost quit Arabic in second year. It wasn't because he was doing super bad or anything like that, but it was just kind of like just feeling the challenge. Okay, and he ended up going to Syria with our group that went in 2003. And then in 2004, he got a fellowship to go for the academic year. And I sent 3 guys on this academic year program, okay? And they couldn't have been more different. I mean, they couldn't have been more different as far as, one was the sort of very linguistically oriented, study, get all the grammar down, and then go out and talk. And another one was Sterling. Okay, so Sterling was people lover. I mean, this guy, he really loved people. After this year has passed, I was in Damascus with Mahmoud al-Batal, author of your textbook, and Mahmoud was there looking for. They were looking for a new CASA site. Okay, the Center for Arabic Study Abroad, looking to branch out instead of this CASA is where everybody you know, Spencer Scoville, all of our staff, we did Arabic to advanced level. I think everybody I can think of went to CASA in Cairo, and they were looking at putting a branch in Damascus. And so Mahmoud was there to go check out possibilities, and we happened to overlap with this kind of graduation dinner for the flagship for the program for the that's service. So they invited us to go to dinner. I went with the student who has a pregnant wife, and so we went to a very quiet, lonely spot where nobody was smoking. The rest of the gang went to a sort of a more typical smoke-filled, everybody with shisha and white pipes. So anyway, they went, and so I don't know what happened. I don't know how it happened. So I see Mahmoud the next morning. At breakfast, and he says, "Oh my goodness, that Sterling is amazing." And I'm like, "Yeah, he's an interesting character." He said, "I have never seen a student who was more effective at using Arabic." And I'm thinking, like, you know everybody. You ran the Middlebury program for 10 years. You ran CASA. You are Mr. Arabic. You know everybody who is good at Arabic. And you just said that Sterling eclipsed all of those people that you know? I mean, he must know hundreds of really accomplished speakers of Arabic. And I cannot process this. I'm just like, our Sterling? Is there a Sterling? There can't be another Sterling, right? He says, "Yeah, this guy's amazing." He says he's not technically perfect. He's not the best I've ever seen technically. But in terms of knowing how to work an audience, Sterling, I've never seen anybody better at using Arabic than Sterling. He said, this guy is going places. He is going to do something really interesting. And I was like, so, a couple of years later, see, we're not seeing the big picture here, are we? Let's go to the big picture. A couple of years later, Sterling sends me this picture. This is General Petraeus in the front, who was the commander of forces in Iraq, meeting with a Sunni sheikh. And this is Sterling standing behind him. His translator. Okay? Sharq al-Awsat is one of the biggest international Arab papers there is. It's sort of like, you know, the Wall Street Journal or something. It's published in London, and this was the front page. Okay? So here is Sterling. I'm not surprised at all, right? Sterling on the front page, Petraeus is translator. Why was Sterling Petraeus his translator? Because he's so dang good, right? He is so good at talking to people, at connecting with people. And what did he do? He published Peace. Sterling told me about an experience he had where I believe he was inserted in a, he wasn't in the military, by the way, he was a civilian translator. He was with a Shiite unit. So the army was Shiites, right? And they ran into a Sunni militia unit. And Sterling said it got really, really tense. People are fingering their, safety, sort of like it had come to a bloodbath here. And Sterling gets up on, this rock or whatever, and he says, hey. And he gives this speech. And at first people are like, shut up, you're just an American, you're here for the money. He says, that's right, I'm here for the money. He just gave me a big, well, I don't know if this is true, but he went on to give this patriotic speech. He said, we did this. Our nation went through this hard thing. We killed each other. It is worth the sacrifice. What we are doing, we have got to come together. So he gives this come together talk, and in the end, it's everybody like, yeah, all right, let's go, and Sterling was influential. I mean, this was a miracle what happened in the Sunni Triangle. The Sunni Triangle had cast their lot with Al-Qaeda, and the U.S. forces were able to come in and say, this is not the direction you want to go. And things were really, really on a very good path in Iraq. And then some unfortunate decisions yanked U.S. forces prematurely out of Iraq, and things kind of collapsed. It was very, very unfortunate. I mean, I'm not a fan of. I have no idea what the right thing to do was. I'm not a fan of invading countries to try and make things better, and so forth. But all I can tell you is that Sterling played a really, really interesting role because he had a talent that I totally overlooked. And I spent a lot of time with this guy. I knew he was fun. I knew he was a character, but I had no idea what he was capable of doing. So, why did he get, if you've been in this conversation before, you can just hold it to yourself. But those of you who don't know the story, this is the first time, why do you think he was so dang good at using the Arabic? What do you think? Let's brainstorm. Talk to me. Yeah.
He was genuinely interested in people?
He was genuinely interested in people. Absolutely. Yes. Other?
Yeah, with that, to be a good
You personally have to be a good listener.
I bet you that he was a really good one. I mean, he picked up on how Arabs interact. He picked up on how Arabs influence each other in a very, very sophisticated way. I'm not saying he knew it analytically necessarily, but he figured it out in ways that nobody had ever done to that degree that Mahmoud had done. That is astounding. That is absolutely astounding. Yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
He just given discouragement, took failure in stride.
He definitely took failure in stride. Yes, yes. Very, very nice. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Yeah.
I don't know, if you have approached Arabic as less of more like a thing to study and more of a way to communicate with people. Like, he didn't really, the studying aspect of it, he focused more on the communication aspect, I think.
Yeah, he certainly, it was certainly a means to an end, right? And then some people, it is an end. Yeah, so for some folks it is an end. Arabic is the object of study, and for him it was a pathway to somewhere. Yeah. Any other thoughts? I don't want to keep you too much longer. I want to just say that there is something to learn. There's a lot to learn from every great success story, right? And from Sterling, I would say we try and encourage students to just be the anthropologist, right? You want to be very what's an anthropologist do? Who's been in anthropology classes?
Pay attention to all the details and trying to get into the nitty gritty of everyone's
Lots
life.
of observing, right? Lots and lots of very careful observing, right? And what does that require? Time, patience, right? This doesn't happen like in a, just overnight. And it's not something, you're not going to become Sterling in Jordan, right? But you could be well on your way to becoming Sterling, if that's what you want to do, right? I mean, I'm not saying, I never want anybody to be in the line of fire, right? So I'm not saying go become a, go put yourself in the line of fire or something like that. But there is a need. There is a crying need for people who can understand and bridge. And if you have Sterling he's been on talk shows. I mean, I can send you. He is just a popular guy. He gets invited on to do interesting things. Wow. I want Jaron to spend a little bit of time here just telling you about his experience with learning about people's differences in their talents.
All right, so my story is a couple of weeks into Jordan, and I'm feeling a little down because I've realized that so many people are so much better than me at Arabic. I did not realize that would happen. And that was a little rough. And I realized that there's like these two guys I was like starting to become friends with, but I didn't know that well, that were in my class. I was like, I don't even think I should be in the same class as them. Like this like feeling of like I'm not even a helpful speaking partner for them, let alone should I be like in the same class with them. Like they all know so much more vocab than me. It takes me so much longer to like think about the grammar. One of them had been studying Arabic for a number of years with like high school experience and then stuff relating to mission and then back like at the BYU program. The other one had spent some time like in the Middle East studying Arabic previous to the program. And I was like, well, I'm just some schmuck that started studying a year ago. Like, why are these guys even on the same program as me? And it was super frustrating. I was just like, do I like request to like, I don't know, to like be moved away from them so I can feel better about myself? I think like some of you like picked up on the thinking errors that I was engaging in. But I got to know them better and we became friends, kind of like by fire and blood. Then we just like gotta have someone to go out with at night, and then like crazy stuff happens. You're like, well, we've all haggled together. We're never not friends. And we started to get closer, and it's like in this like depths of like my linguistic despair at being bad at the language that I'm talking to them, and one of them explains to me that it's really hard for him to be in Jordan, and he actually was married and his spouse hadn't been able to come to Jordan, and that was just rough for him. And I was sitting there like, yeah, we can't speak the language. And then I realized I was like, oh, like I'm not having any trouble. Like I love being in Jordan. I love being in other cultures. That's what I can do. I can go in a shop and I'll go make a friend because I want to learn how to cook that thing that they're eating, and that would be ideal. Like I can't stop someone on the street and be like, teach me the language, but I can stop someone on the street who's eating something delicious. Like that makes sense to me, cognitively. And then the other guy who was like, well, I guess you're struggling too, but this guy, he's just awesome at everything. And then he was like, well, actually, I just feel awful about myself every other day because I have a presentation appointment every other day, and I can't even give presentations in English. And I like write out my presentation word for word and spend hours memorizing it because I cannot give a presentation. And I was like, dang. Well, I love speaking publicly, so I guess that's rough for you. And then, like over the course of this conversation, I realized it's like, oh wait, we're all struggling. Like, this is rough for all of us. And then probably like a day later, I was like, wait a minute. We're all struggling in different ways, and I can like help someone feel more confident in a presentation, and I can like help someone who feels like they don't have friends in this new place, and they can teach me how to be a diligent student because I don't really know how to do that. And suddenly, what like was 3 people all struggling to do something in different ways was now a group working together, and all of our language just like took off. We would have like experiences where we'd go out together and do stuff. We would practice our presentations with each other. They would remind me to study. And it was this amazing experience to the point like at the end of the program, one of them ended up having his OPI like the first thing in the morning, and for the people who didn't have their OPIs at that time, they just got to sleep in for like the first time ever. And he was like, Jaren, can you wake up like an hour before my OPI and help me practice for it? I was like, yeah, I guess so. And the next day I had my OPI and I hadn't asked him, and he showed up when I was prepping for my OPI, even though he didn't have one, and was there to help me. And we just warmed up for the OPI, talked it out, gave it through like practice questions that we put together the night before. And I was just like, where would I be as a language learner without these guys? And where would they be without me? So, first things first, we're all like at different levels. And it's not just that like some of us are better than others, it's that we're at different levels in different things. And you might not even realize it until you talk to someone else about what they're struggling with, that that's something that you can help them with and something that they can help you with. So this is a call to like work together and realize that you're stronger together. And it's also a reminder that the things that you hate most about yourself or that are most saddening for you are usually not your strengths. And focusing on these things that you're struggling with is not going to like bring out the best of you. I'm still great friends with these students. Also, most of the people in my program, they're generally great. And I still like have classes with them, and I'm like, dang it, you're still better than me at that. You suck. And then they're like, oh, Jaron, could you like come help me with this thing? I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I have like value in this world. And I think that you'll find that there are times in your time, like during your time in Jordan, you'll be like, the only thing, like there's times that like I felt this way. Like the only time I feel good is helping someone else out. So like this program's gonna be awesome for me because I just like get to do it professionally and just help y'all. But I hope that you can like understand that like the people around you aren't the thing holding you back, and they really can benefit you.
Thank you very much. I think we've kept you long enough. If you have any questions you want to hang out for a minute, we can answer. But thanks for your patience.
I usually have to